the regulatory requirements, often in these smaller emerging markets where a lot of our tier 2 and tier 3 clients are, it's quite different to what we've been dealing with perhaps in the US or the UK. So we spend time making sure that we understand that. We work really closely with them. We try really hard to make sure we're not just required to make changes for the sake of change, because that makes it really tricky. But we have got the right fit type CSDs, CCPs, risk management systems to allow these teams to take that on board. So we work really closely with them to make sure that that works.
What innovations have you introduced in the registry and private markets business?
Registry business for us was one of the first and foremost that we kind of made sure we had that up and running really quickly. We built that very much making sure that we were working very closely with a company based here in the UK. So our Avenir registrars uses the Avenir technology, the CSD technology in registrar business. Private markets for us is really important. This is end-to-end technology from trading right through to the end for settlement. So we make sure that we are doing the pre-trade and the post-trade risk management. That seems to be incredibly important, of course. And more recently, we've recognised the UK stamp duty requirements that were needed for our private markets and implemented that. So we work closely, we're agile, we're quite fintech-focused in many ways, although we're probably a little bit old to be saying that in many ways, but we love that. So we're working closely with the private markets technology to ensure that we're doing what's required to make that really nimble and really quick and really, we're connecting into these like quite large banks. So connectivity is going to be a big piece to make sure that our payments work from a private markets perspective. We also make sure that we're putting a sort of a hold on those shares before they can actually move to ensure that the risk piece is really covered. So we want to be innovative in that because it's really important, but equally we need to make sure that we're following the rules of the market and working closely with our clients when we go through that process.
How do you help emerging markets with CCPs and CFDs?
In many ways in emerging markets you'll see them sort of looking more for a CSD based technology. CCP may not be required necessarily, but actually we built that 10 years ago and we've evolved that subsequently, and we always made sure that was real time. So the risk management within our CCP system is very much in real time margin calls. We're making sure that they are very aware of what's happening when it comes to risk management. Our CCP technology and our CSD technology is first of class and best of breed in many ways, but we need to make sure that it's right fit. So we work really closely with our emerging markets and with our clients to ensure that that's right. We do a lot of additional work on top of that. So if we've got a change request, to want for a better word, coming in from a client that needs a change, we then make sure that that is rolled out to our other clients as well, because we see that as part of innovation and evolution of the markets, which is fundamentally what we want to be behind.
How will traditional finance evolve in response to fintech innovation?
We are seeing what's happening in our traditional finance models, particularly in markets infrastructure. And that technology has been built in a really robust way and it does the right thing. It makes sense for companies like Avenir to be working with other companies where perhaps like we're talking to other exchanges and crypto exchanges that are looking for the technology which is built right and how we can kind of build that bridge to ensure that we're also helping the other markets evolve. And I think that's incredibly important. People are coming to us to learn, and I think we're also working as much to learn as well, so we can actually be that bridge. We've got clients that are wanting to do that as well. So for us, it's, we're scaling at the moment with Avenir very much intentionally, and this is one of the real interesting strategic directions for us at the moment.
How does Avenir deal with risk management?
Risk management is, I feel like every time I'm speaking to somebody in an exchange, or particularly in clearing, that is where they're talking to me about their pain points. We often talk about the fact that we've got great technology and we can go in and help exchanges, but equally as a really robust software company, we're able to go and have those conversations about pain points. And what we're seeing, particularly in the markets that I am dealing with, is a lot of the risk management is being dealt with and it's being managed on spreadsheets in many ways. And you're finding that all these very smart risk individuals are spending a lot of time just looking inwardly and not looking outwardly. So the good news for them is that we're working very closely with an exchange right now within Asia Pacific who have their own CCP and they've got their own trading system, but they're really looking for a robust Avenir system which is around risk. And we have a great system called Avenir Risk. And, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there's been some sort of feedback out of WFE recently about changes within risk. They're really wanting to sort of pivot and make sure that participants have the ability to also look. And so we have a participant portal with our Avenir Risk that enables them to also be part of that journey. So we're really working closely hand in hand with our exchange because it is a pain point for them. They want the people that are amazing, that are working in the area to be looking outwardly, what's coming down there. And all of our risk management is real time. It's not end of day batches or anything along those lines. It has the flags, it raises the risk, and it makes sure that they're aware of what they're doing, which I think is so fundamental to the markets at the moment.
How do you help exchanges shift from legacy systems?
For us, Avenir One is a really interesting product. I'm not sort of reinventing any wheel, but bearing in mind I've been in markets infrastructure for a long time, but we are seeing a fragmentation within our vendors. We've got some that are primarily just looking at trading systems. We've got some that are very much post-trade. We've got some that are just risk. But with Avenir, we are sort of one platform for one vendor, right? So we make sure that is really important when we're speaking to some of the smaller exchanges. It sort of rang in my ears just for speaking to some of the market participants. We would like to work with one vendor. And because we've worked really hard over the past sort of 4 to 5 years, particularly building out our tech, Avenir One, we can go in and have an RFP or speak to exchanges about the fact that these small exchanges may not need something as robust as perhaps what the tier ones have got at the moment, but our job is to bring it to them and also then work to scale with them. So Avenir One is full stack technology, end-to-end exchange. I think you've heard the word over the years, John, exchange in a box. But we are SaaS, but also on-prem if required. There are a lot of exchanges that are still feeling nervous about that SaaS cloud piece. So we try and make sure that we're a hybrid where required, and that seems to work as well. So it's really important that we work closely to make sure that they feel comfortable, because it is a scary place to be. And of course, with having experts on site, being there to make sure they feel comfortable, making sure the technology is the right fit, Avenir One is an amazing piece of technology for lots of these exchanges out there at the moment.